What's up? Welcome back. Thank you for watching another one of my videos. Today we are going to talk about why productivity advice is ruining your life. So sit back, grab a Topo Chico, cheers, and let's start. So the first thing I want you to ask yourself is, how often have you noticed people wearing the badge of honor of overworking themselves, right? Everyone today thinks that working a lot means that you are doing quality work. And I mean, you see this everywhere. You see this in corporate life, but you also see it online a lot with hustle culture, where they're constantly screaming that sleep is for the weak and hustle until everybody knows your name, or all of those silly cliches that make you feel bad for not working at every single second of the day, when that's just not possible. And so I feel like there has been a lot of confusion around the topic of productivity, and the art of singular focus has been lost. Singular, long-term, quality focus on something that is actually meaningful to you. So after scouring the internet and reading many books on optimal performance and peak productivity, I have come to find that many creatives, entrepreneurs, successful people in general, they don't really agree with this whole hustle culture advice. It's usually the people that aren't very productive that are trying to talk themselves into being productive and are saying these things, and it's just counterproductive. So, but the like real creatives and successful people and original thinkers, they attribute their productivity not to the amount of work they get done, but to the amount of rest they get done. So, from the book Rest by Alex Sujung Kim Pong, the clever man may work smarter, not harder, they say, but the creative man does not work at all. Now, one thing we need to clear the room is that when people hear rest, they don't think of recovery. They don't think of something that will help them be creative. They think of the modern version of self-care, which is stuffing your face with potato chips, watching Netflix until you pass out, and not really doing anything productive with your time, right? That's what rest is. But I would argue heavily against that, because you have to think of it this way. Think of going to the gym. When you go to the gym, are you spending 12 hours a day just putting in the most work possible to grow that muscle? No. You're putting an hour maybe of heavy, intense time into building that muscle, and the rest of your day, or at least a part of your day, is dedicated to recovery, because that is arguably as important, if not more important, maybe less important to some people, to build that muscle. The same is true with productivity, deep work, and focus. You only have so much effort or intensity that you can put into your work at any given moment. So, like the gym, where you schedule time, or you're at least mindful of your rest and recovery, it's the same with productivity. You have to be intentional with where you place your focus, how long you place your focus, how focused you actually are, and the quality of your rest. So a few months ago, I had a tweet that went viral. It said, "Fill your brain in the afternoons with books, learning, and socialization. Empty your brain before bed with journaling, planning, and meditation. Use your brain in the morning with creation, output, and focus." So now this has become my personal philosophy for productivity. It's very simple. And it breaks productivity and performance down into those three simple steps: fill, empty, use. Now, that tweet was my interpretation of it. I like separating it morning, afternoon, evening. I mean, it kind of all intertwines. You just have to have each pillar in your day, and it's up to you to test and experiment what works best for you, because some people are productive in the morning, and then there are the night owls that are creative and productive at night. So this is just a way of structuring things and making sense of productivity. And of course, this does work best for those with a side business, or for those that are self-employed, or for those that have autonomy and can structure their days and test things out. But again, these are pillars, right? You can do this at a 9 to 5 when you're working on your side business or other things, or just pursuing some kind of hobby or thing where it demands deep focus. This can also work for your actual career as well if you work as an employee. So the first part is fill. You need to fill your brain. If you are trying to create without first consuming or having something in your head to pull inspiration from, because no idea is original, it's your job to take what was original and make your own version of original. Because you think of it like a car, right? Your brain is a car, your focus is the engine, and content and other ideas are the fuel. You can't drive a car without gas. So you need to read books. You need to consume content related to your interests, podcasts, articles, social media, tweets, and other things, and replace these things with the other mindless consumption that you're going through, like the self-deprecating memes. Fuck those. Get those things out of your fucking life, because they will ruin you and steal your attention. That's all they're doing, is stealing your dopamine and your attention. Fuck them. And that's the thing. If you aren't consuming things that are related to your interests or the things that you are trying to build, the law of inspired action is not going to come into play. Your work is just going to suffer in general, because what you are consuming is not congruent with what you are creating. So the next pillar or next step of this 3-step productivity framework is empty. And I think Bruce Lee said it best. He said, "Empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. If you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, and it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, and it becomes the teapot. Now, water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend." So now, this is where the notion of self-care comes into place, but good self-care, rest and recovery. And I like to lump these into a category called meditative activities, right? Meditation does play a big role here, and I would assume you understand that is kind of emptying your mind, or at least not reacting to the things in your mind, right? You are in a state of boredom or no mind, per some spiritual teachings, where you aren't thinking of anything. You aren't focused. And I'm not talking about focused on your work. I'm talking about focused on the thoughts in your head. Actively trying to think through things is against the point. That's not where your subconscious mind is going to birth those good ideas that are necessary for when you do focus, right? I believe this is called the default mode network. When you are just doing normal everyday activities, like the meditative activities that I will talk about, that's when your brain comes up with the best ideas, especially after you use your brain, which is the next part of this 3-step framework. And another way you can think of these is shower thoughts, right? When you're just not doing anything, you're not thinking, you're not actively munching through problems, and an idea pops into your head and you're like, oh shit, that's it. That's the solution to my problem. So back to the meditative activities, and we can knock out 2 birds with 1 stone here, because the best activities for idea generation or emptying your brain in general are the ones that are going to make you healthier, right? So going to the gym, when you're being crushed by 200 pounds on your back, you are not thinking. You may be thinking like, I need to get this thing up right now, but you're also breathing heavy. You're just in a space of non-focused attention, like spatial awareness to an extent. And great ideas come for when you're doing things at the gym. And now you don't only have to go to the gym, but some form of physical exercise and movement. I get my best ideas on my walks. I walk 15 to 20,000 steps a day. I go on maybe 8 to 10 walks in between my work sessions, just around my apartment complex. I'll throw in an audiobook and fill my brain during that time as well. But there's other things like martial arts. You can play chess. That would kind of go against the point, but you can do martial arts. You can do yoga, which would be great for this. That's a heavy meditative activity. But then there are other things like socialization, just not really focused on work. There is journaling, where you're quite literally emptying your brain dump journaling, just getting everything out of your head and onto paper, and other things that fall into the meditative activities category. Now, one very important thing when you are emptying your brain, you need somewhere to write these things down. I have a running notes app in my phone that I call the Queue, and every single thought that comes into my head, every idea, thought, negative thought pattern, or other things that I will come back to later, I pop in the notes and then I put it into my creative workflow that I have. So before we get into the third step, the use part of this framework, I want to bring up the legendary advertiser, David Ogilvy, because this is how he would craft his big ideas, the things that would catch the most attention or make his copywriting, his sales pages very compelling. So Ogilvy would brainstorm ideas for his ads. He would write down maybe 5-10 headlines. He would write down a bunch of different ideas, right? If you don't understand advertising, then that's fine. But he would write down the things he was trying to do in terms of productivity or creative work. You're writing down blog headlines, sales page headlines, ideas for the actual thing. You're kind of like placing an anchor there, right? You're getting everything out of your head. You're emptying your brain. And then what he would do is he wasn't trying to find the answer right then, the perfect idea. He would fuck off. He would go on a walk maybe, and just go about day-to-day life. And with that, the perfect idea would be getting munched on in the back of his head, and it would come to him at the most random time. And then you write this down, and boom, you're doing good work without even working. And this is not only Ogilvy. I know Quentin Tarantino does similar, and most creatives, this is a part of their creative process. So now the third step, use your brain. This is simple. I could go over the steps for getting into deep and focused work, but you can check out the book Deep Work by Cal Newport. I know that is like raved about. I haven't even read it, but I trust in it. And I also have a video of my own that you can go and check out. I'll post a link somewhere in the description or right there. I don't understand YouTube, so however the fuck you want to get to that video, go and watch. So now we have to understand why this works. I'm big on the why, because the why is what's actually going to make you do this. Now, there's two things here. There's novelty and there's pattern recognition. Both of these revolve around dopamine because humans crave novel experiences. I wrote another tweet that I will read to you now that says, humans crave novelty. Media companies know this, so they give you what you want, making you a slave to cheap dopamine. If you read books, went outside, pushed yourself, and found novelty away from the screen, you would become obsessed with progress instead of self-destruction. And now this is the problem here, right? Humans thrive off of novel experiences. This is quite literally the difference between self-destruction and self-success. If you get trapped in the dopamine trap of consuming mindless content on social media, scrolling TikTok all the time, not doing anything with your fucking life, you're going to go down a hole. It's not good. I've been there. I know this firsthand. But if you read books, you fill your brain according to your interests, and you crave novel experiences away from that as well, in nature or going and doing things, and you are inspired, the law of inspired action, you are inspired by life and the work of other people, that is going to create momentum. Okay, it's going to start the snowball of momentum, and you are not going to want to stop because you aren't distracted by all these other things. And that's the other thing too. If you have goals related to this, goals give you something to focus on and help you kind of cut through those distractions, the other side of things that's trying to steal your attention, right? Once you're aware of this, it's kind of hard to ignore, but everything is trying to grab your fucking attention. So stay aware of that. That's your main asset. That's why I'm writing a book called The Art of Focus, because we're so fucking distracted. So there's novelty and novel experiences, new experiences that give you that good dopamine or bad dopamine if you are unaware or unconscious or asleep or a mindless zombie walking through life. But once that momentum is built, in comes pattern recognition. And in psychology, pattern recognition is a cognitive process that matches information from a stimulus with information from memory. So what this pattern recognition does is, once you use your brain as the third part of the framework, when you're actually creating something, you're building something, you have a project, right? That's kind of like a memory storage because you're creating something. Now, when you're going about your day and you're doing these meditative activities, or you're filling your brain through ideas and other things that can be tied back to that. And this happens in the most like weirdest things in everyday life. And this is you can only understand this through experience, is that you tie things back to that project, and it accelerates the growth of that project and your creations, right? The pattern recognition. And this is really what keeps people in a loop of personal growth. I mean, I'm sure you've met people. I'm one of them. I perceive myself as one of these people that just can't stop like thinking, or not thinking, but making progress in a positive way, right? They're always building something, but in a sustainable way with prioritized rest, and they can't stop because it's just a snowball of obsession in building out these things and living off of that good dopamine. It's a great fucking way to live. So all of this sounds great, but of course, as with all things, it means nothing without action, okay? And here's the thing, you don't need to start large with this. My entire day revolves around this. I've even structured it to a point where I call it focus fasting. It's pretty much my daily routine in a nutshell. I will be creating a video about this, so subscribe if you would like to see how I kind of automate this process in my day, and not only pertaining to work, but health and everything else as well. But that's the thing, is you don't have to start large with this. You can start very, very small. 5 minutes of filling your brain, 5 minutes of just pursuing your interests, man. Pursue your fucking interests. Like, study something, buy a course, buy a book, and actually read it, and make sure it's aligned with things that you actually want to learn. Because school, the education system, it's a necessary evil, but it took away, it didn't take away, but it kind of suppressed our curiosity. It's like, here, read this book, and it's like, I don't want to fucking read this book. And then you go on and you never read books, right? Bad idea. And then after that, 5 minutes of emptying your brain. Do 5 minutes of meditation. Go to the gym for 5 minutes, I guess. And then what's the last one? Use your brain. So if you have nothing to use this on, or nothing to create, start a side business, start a hobby, start writing a blog, start a Twitter account, start something where you can start tying these ideas back to and create that pattern recognition and thrive off of this good dopamine. It's fucking amazing, right? If you've experienced this, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and you've probably experienced it prior in your life when you actually have a project that is aligned with who you want to become, that you just love working on. And somewhere, if you're not currently working on it, it got lost in the weeds because you got distracted by the other cheap dopamine sources. You let people steal your attention. So with all of that, I do not have anything more for you. If you want to join the community where we talk business, health, lifestyle, productivity, and I give you systems for doing all of that, and I guarantee you money if you don't see progress. So check the description for a link to that. Join my newsletter, as I wrote a more in-depth version of this video there. I'll link that instead. You don't have to join the newsletter, but you can read through it and you can understand this topic deeper, and then you can sign up to the newsletter if you would like to receive those. I put a lot of time into them. And with that, that's it from me. If you enjoyed this video, like it, leave a comment, subscribe. Of course, I love you all. Have an absolutely amazing week ahead.